The first time Nerys died, nobody called it murder. They called it punishment. They said the villainess had finally paid the price for her arrogance. At the academy, her portrait was ripped from the honor wall. Her name was scratched off invitations. Girls who once begged to sit beside her now covered their mouths and laughed when she passed. And at the center of every rumor stood Diana. Soft voice, bright eyes, hands folded like a saint. Diana never shouted. She never ordered anyone to destroy Nerys. She only cried in the right rooms, trembled in front of the right professors, and let the entire academy become her weapon. By the end, Nerys had lost everything. Her friends, her family's protection, her future, even her name. On the night she died, she stood alone in a freezing courtyard while snow buried the academy garden. Her body was weak. Her reputation was gone. Her enemies were celebrating inside a warm ballroom. Diana stepped out just long enough to smile. "You should have known your place," she whispered. Nerys looked at the glowing windows behind her. All those beautiful nobles, all those clean hands, all those people who had ruined her life and still believed they were innocent because someone else had thrown the final stone. Nerys collapsed in the snow. Her last thought was not a prayer. It was a list. Every name, every lie, every debt, every price. Then she opened her eyes, and she was 12 years old again, standing at the gates of the academy, before the rumors, before the betrayals, before Diana learned how easy it was to steal her life. This time, Nerys did not cry. She looked at the academy towers and smiled, because every enemy inside those walls had just become a future corpse, walking around with perfect posture. In her first life, Nerys thought the academy was a place where talent mattered. That was adorable. The Imperial Academy was not a school, it was a battlefield with prettier uniforms. Every hallway had a ranking. Every lunch table was a political map. Every friendship came with a family name attached. In her first life, Nerys entered those gates desperate to be accepted. She studied until her eyes burned. She memorized etiquette rules. She smiled at girls who mocked her dress because she believed patience would win respect. But respect is not given to girls who ask for permission. It is given to girls who make people afraid to underestimate them. This time, Nerys arrived with 3 weapons: memory, silence, and a notebook filled with names. On the first page, she wrote Diana. Not because Diana was the strongest, because Diana was the center. In the future, Diana would become the academy's precious flower. Professors would defend her. Noble boys would fight for her. Girls would copy her ribbons and repeat her lies. But right now, Diana was only a smiling girl waiting for the right stage. So Nerys decided to take the stage first. During the entrance ceremony, every new student was asked to introduce themselves. In her first life, Nerys had bowed too deeply and spoken too softly. This time, she walked to the front with her chin raised. Her black hair was tied with a simple emerald ribbon. Her uniform was perfect. Her expression was calm enough to make older students stop whispering. "My name is Nerys," she said. "I came here to take first place." The hall went silent. Then someone laughed. A noble boy near the front muttered, "Arrogant already." Nerys looked directly at him. "I prefer honest." The laughter died. Across the hall, Diana watched with a smile that did not reach her eyes. "Good," Nerys thought. "Look at me. It is easier to trap someone when they believe they are hunting you." Diana approached her 3 days later, not alone. Never alone. Girls like Diana needed witnesses the way assassins needed knives. She came with 2 classmates, a plate of sweets, and the soft expression of someone already rehearsing forgiveness. "Nerys," she said, "I heard some students are scared of you." In her first life, Nerys would have panicked. She would have asked who said that. She would have tried to explain herself. This time she only turned a page in her book. "Are you?" Diana blinked. "No, of course not. I just thought you might want help making friends." "How generous." Diana smiled brighter. "I brought cookies." There it was, the first trap. In the old timeline, Nerys ate one of those cookies. Later, another student became sick, and the rumor spread that Nerys had added something bitter because she was jealous of Diana's popularity. It was a tiny scandal, not enough to ruin her, just enough to stain her. That was how Diana worked, one stain at a time. Nerys closed her book. "Thank you. Let us share them with Professor Halden." Diana's smile twitched. "With the professor?" He skipped breakfast. "You are kind, are you not?" The 2 girls behind Diana nodded eagerly. They loved the idea of being seen doing charity near a professor. Diana had no choice. 10 minutes later, the sweets were placed in the faculty lounge. Professor Halden thanked Diana publicly. Then Nerys added, "Diana prepared them herself. Please be sure to compliment her if they taste unusual." Diana's face turned white. That afternoon, the cookies vanished into a fireplace. No one became sick. No rumor started. And Diana learned the first rule of the new timeline. Nerys would not touch a gift unless the giver was willing to eat it first. Nerys knew she could not win alone. A lone villainess becomes a rumor. A connected villainess becomes a system. So she began collecting people the academy ignored. A scholarship student whose family was mocked for being merchants. A quiet girl from a fallen noble house who knew every old bloodline better than the professors. A second son with no inheritance but perfect memory for gambling debts. In her first life, Nerys had tried to join the powerful. This time she built power from the discarded. She did not offer friendship. Friendship was too fragile. She offered value. To the merchant girl, she gave introductions to noble buyers. To the fallen noble, she gave access to books locked behind family permissions. To the second son, she gave one sentence: "Tell me who owes money, and I will tell you who will be useful." Within a month, Nerys knew more about the academy than the headmaster. Who cheated on exams, who bought dresses on unpaid credit, who sent love letters to 3 different heirs, who pretended to hate Diana but copied every word she said. Information changed everything. In the old timeline, gossip had been a storm that crushed Nerys. Now gossip was a river. And she was learning where to dig the canals. Her first public victory came during the winter rankings. Diana had planned to accuse Nerys of stealing notes before the history exam. The planted papers were supposed to appear in Nerys's desk. Instead, they appeared in 3 desks, all belonging to Diana's closest admirers. When the professor found them, the room erupted. Diana stood up with perfect tears. "There must be a mistake." Nerys rose slowly. "I agree." Everyone turned. She placed her own notes on the desk. Bound. Dated. Signed by the librarian each night she studied. Then she looked at Diana's friends. "If someone copied from me, they should at least have copied the correct chapter." The class laughed. Not at Nerys, at them. For Diana, it was a tiny loss. For Nerys, it was proof. The academy could be taught to laugh in a different direction. The academy was only half the cage. The other half was home. Nerys' family had always treated reputation like a god and Nerys like a servant meant to polish its altar. When rumors hurt her in the first timeline, they did not ask if she was innocent. They asked why she had failed to look innocent. This time, when she returned for the seasonal family dinner, she brought documents. The dining room glittered with candles and cold silver. Her mother sat at the end of the table, beautiful and distant. Her relatives discussed alliances as if children were chess pieces with pulse. Then her uncle said, "We heard you are making enemies at school." Nerys cut her meat calmly. "No, I am organizing them." Her mother's eyes narrowed. "You will not shame this family. In my last report, I ranked first in history, strategy, and etiquette. Which part is shameful? A lady should not sound combative. A lady should not be defenseless either." The table went quiet. Her uncle laughed under his breath. "She speaks like a villainess." Nerys looked at him. He was the same man who in her first life advised her mother to cut her off before Diana's rumors damaged the family name. She placed a folded paper beside his wineglass. His smile faded as he read it. It was a copy of his private debt agreement with a gambling house near the academy. Nerys leaned closer. "If I am a villainous uncle, you should be more careful with your secrets." Her mother stood. "That is enough." "No," Nerys said. "That is the beginning." She placed 3 more documents on the table. Not threats, prices. If her family wanted her silence, they would give her control over her academy allowance, her correspondence, and her personal attendance. Her mother stared at her like she was seeing a stranger. Good. The daughter they could abandon was dead. The girl sitting at their table now charged interest. Every villainous story has someone watching from the shadows. At the Imperial Academy, that person was Cassian. A high-ranking noble boy with dark hair, cold eyes, and the annoying habit of appearing exactly when Nerys wanted privacy. In her first life, Cassian had been untouchable. He spoke rarely, he chose no faction, he watched everyone like a judge waiting for evidence. This time, he approached Nerys after the ranking ceremony. "You are changing the school," he said. Nerys did not look up from her notebook. "Schools change every year. Not like this." "Then report me." "I did not say I disapproved." That made her pause. Cassian handed her a sealed envelope. Inside was a list of students connected to Diana through family favors, gifts, and quiet promises. Nerys scanned the names. "This is expensive information. It is accurate. What do you want?" Cassian's eyes moved toward the ballroom where Diana was laughing beneath a chandelier. "My family almost signed a marriage agreement with hers. Then I noticed every person near her either worships her or bleeds for her." Nerys closed the envelope. "And you think I can stop her?" "No," Cassian said. "I think you already started." Nerys almost smiled. Almost. She did not need a savior. But a witness with status was useful, and Cassian understood something most noble boys did not. He did not ask her to become kinder. He asked how much damage she planned to do. That made him tolerable. The spring banquet was Diana's masterpiece in the first timeline. That was the night she cried in front of the entire academy and accused Nerys of threatening her. Professors comforted her. Students turned on Nerys, and one noble boy declared that someone so cruel should be expelled. It was the beginning of Nerys' social execution. So this time, Nerys let Diana prepare the same stage. The banquet hall glowed with gold light. Music floated over polished floors. Students wore jeweled uniforms and family crests. Diana waited until the room was full. Then she stumbled near the fountain, clutching a torn ribbon. Nerys, she whispered loud enough for everyone, why do you hate me so much? The hall froze. Beautiful, predictable. Nerys walked toward her slowly. Diana's friends gathered like a protective wall. One boy snapped, apologized to her. Nerys tilted her head. For what? For threatening her. Did she say I threatened her? Diana lowered her eyes. I do not want trouble. Nerys nodded. Then she turned to the musicians. Stop playing. The room went silent. Cassian stepped forward and handed the headmaster a stack of letters. Nerys spoke clearly. Over the last 2 months, false rumors have spread through this academy. They began with anonymous notes, copied handwriting, staged gifts, and witnesses who always happened to be Diana's friends. Diana's face went pale. Nerys lifted the torn ribbon. This ribbon was supposedly ripped from Diana's dress by me. Unfortunately, it was cut with embroidery scissors, the same scissors currently in her left pocket. Every eye dropped to Diana's dress. Diana stepped back. One of her friends whispered, Diana? The headmaster opened the letters. One by one, Diana's little miracles became evidence. The cookie incident, the planted notes, the paid rumors, the fake witnesses. Diana tried to cry, but crying only works when the audience still wants to believe you. Nerys leaned close, her voice soft enough to sound merciful and sharp enough to cut skin. You taught everyone to call me a villainess. Diana trembled. Nerys smiled. So I learned how to write an ending. By midnight, Diana was removed from the banquet. By morning, her family received a summons. By the end of the week, every student who had laughed at Nerys was suddenly desperate to apologize. Diana's public collapse did not begin with the banquet. It began 3 weeks earlier, with a scholarship announcement nobody else thought was important. The Academy offered one royal scholarship each year to a student who represented grace, talent, and noble virtue. In the first timeline, Diana won it. She stood on stage in a white dress, cried prettily, and promised to use the prize to help less fortunate students. Everyone applauded. Nobody asked where the money went. Nerys remembered exactly where it went. A new carriage, imported perfume, gifts for girls whose loyalty Diana needed. So this time, Nerys did not try to stop Diana from applying. She helped her, quietly. A recommendation form appeared on Diana's desk. A professor mentioned that emotional charity essays were very persuasive. One of Diana's friends heard that the committee loved candidates with dramatic stories of hardship. Diana walked into the trap smiling. Her essay was beautiful. She wrote about poor students with torn uniforms. She wrote about lonely girls who needed kindness. She wrote about using noble privilege as a lantern for others. The committee adored it. Then Nerys submitted her own application. Not an essay, a budget. Names of real scholarship students. Receipts for textbooks they could not afford. Repair costs for dormitory heating. A full plan showing how the prize could fund an anonymous emergency account controlled by 3 faculty members, instead of one pretty girl with wet eyes. The headmaster stared at the documents for a long time. You prepared all this yourself? Nerys folded her hands. I listened when people spoke. It is a rare habit here. The scholarship ceremony became Diana's second stage. She expected to win. Her friends had already brought flowers. But when the headmaster announced Nerys' name, the hall shifted. Not loudly. Worse. Thoughtfully. Nerys walked to the stage and accepted the medal. Then she turned to the students Diana had used as decoration in her essay. This money will not belong to me, Nerys said. It will belong to the students who need it, with every expense recorded publicly. Applause filled the hall. For the first time, Diana clapped too late. Everyone saw it. Everyone understood. Her kindness had been a performance. Nerys had turned kindness into infrastructure. After the ceremony, Diana cornered her near the library. You stole that from me. Nerys looked at the medal in her hand. No, I gave it a purpose. Diana's smile vanished completely, and Nerys knew the banquet trap would work, because Diana could survive losing admiration, but she could not survive being outdone at her own sainthood. Apologies are cheap. Nerys had no interest in cheap things. One girl sent flowers. Nerys returned them with a note. Pollen-stained silk. One boy offered to escort her to class. Nerys asked if his courage had arrived late, or if it had simply been waiting for permission. Even her family changed tone. Her mother wrote that she was proud. Nerys read the letter once, then placed it in the fire. Pride that arrives after victory is not love. It is investment. Diana did not disappear completely. Girls like her rarely vanish after one defeat, but she was no longer untouchable. Without the academy protecting her innocence, every smile looked calculated. Every tear looked rehearsed. Every kindness was inspected for hooks. That was Nerys' real revenge. Not expulsion. Not prison. Not blood on marble. She made Diana pay the price she once forced onto Nerys. Doubt. Every room Diana entered now asked one silent question. Is she lying again? And that question followed her like a shadow. On the final day of the term, Nerys stood before the honor wall. Her name was first, not restored, not forgiven. First. Cassian stopped beside her. Are you satisfied? He asked. Nerys looked at the academy gates. In her first life, she had died believing the world was unfair because good people did nothing. Now she knew the truth was worse. Most people do something. They choose the winning side and call it justice. No, she said. Cassian glanced at her. Nerys opened her notebook. Diana's name had been crossed out, but there were many names beneath it. Professors who looked away, relatives who sold her, nobles who profited from lies. A whole society that loved innocent girls as long as someone else played the monster. Nerys closed the book. I am not satisfied, she said. I am prepared. The academy bell rang. Students turned to watch her walk down the marble stairs. Some admired her, some feared her, some hated her. Nerys did not care which. In her first life they had made her a villainess to destroy her. In this life she would use that title correctly, because everyone at the academy wanted a price for loyalty, silence, love, and power. And Nerys had come back from death to collect. They taught her that everything has a price. So the villainess returned and made every enemy pay in public.